The painting I'm creating today is one in a series of paintings that I'm making based on Melrose Plantation in Natchitoches, Louisiana.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. Welcome back. Here's another one of my Melrose photographs, and I'm just getting started on this sheet of Canson velvet, and I'm just going to lightly kind of sketch out just some basic areas of the photo. I don't want to make the house too large. I also don't want it right in the middle of my page, so I might just move it a little farther over than it actually is in the photograph. And don't need to worry too much about getting everything just right or nice and straight at the moment. I just want to see where everything is going to end up. I might move a couple of things as I go. Couple of windows there. We've got a door over on this side. There's a shrub right in the middle where the doorway is. So I don't know if I'm going to add that shrub. I like to be able to see the doorway and the little steps going up. So we'll see. I'll figure it out later. I might add it and I might not. We'll see. Okay, and I want this one here for sure. There's a couple more here. Okay. Then we've got some big trees here in the background. And again, I'm just lightly sketching these in. I want the sky. I definitely want lots of sky. So we'll put a few more trees here. And then one more in the foreground here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but okay, then we've got these big trees that are closer in the foreground. So I'm going to kind of ignore some of these right here in the background. And then we'll see what happens as I go to put these in later. I'm going to move down a little bit because these are more in the foreground. So they're going to be closer to us. So I'll just try to put a few little trunks in here. A few more back here. And then all of this, some of this will be going out of the top of the page here. All right, and this will be mostly all trees right here. And I don't think I'm gonna add this. I don't really think it's gonna add anything to the composition. So most all of this will be grass here. And we've got the house right about here. We've got another tree. Trunk over here, and I'm going to add, and then it's going to look like it's a lot closer to the house, which is okay. It's going to go out of the page. All right. Okay. A couple more things back here. And then the rest of this is just all grass. So I don't really have to draw all that in. It's just kind of see from the photograph what's going to happen there. So, all right, so onward to the next phase. I want to show you a shot of my palette. I pre-selected some pastels this time and tried to pare it down just a little bit. I'd like to do a series of these, so I'm trying to keep the colors pretty uniform throughout. Okay, I think in this particular painting, I'm gonna actually start with some green for the foreground, for the grass. And the reason I'm doing that, mainly it's really for myself, so that I can kind of set the tone for kind of the way that I want this to go. I want it to be kind of loose. I want to be able to see lots of the brush strokes. And we've got all of this here to play with. So I want to really try to make it nice and loose, and hopefully that will work out, and then it'll also hopefully translate into the rest of my painting, the trees and the house. And there's some shadows underneath, little shadows underneath the trees over here. So I'm just going to kind of block some of that in as well. All right, I'm going to darken that up just a little bit. So I'm kind of going for some contrast here, because the rest of that lawn there is going to be very, very bright. It was a bright sunny day. Few clouds in the sky, but about midday, so it was very, very bright. So lots of bright greens, bright yellow greens. Whoops, that's going to happen sometime.
I'm going to try this bright grass green, this nice spring green. The day was so bright and the green just really was very, very green. So let's see how this works. And then here I'm just doing what's called scumbling, just kind of getting basic color down, not trying to cover up the paper too much, using light pressure just to kind of get things going and get things started.
Okay, let me go put in some of the sky. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put the clouds in. We'll see. Just kind of see how I feel about it. I'm not big on clouds as far as drawing them. I'm just not as practiced with it as other artists, and I should learn how to do that, but I tend to avoid it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. This is a pretty electric looking blue here. And we're going to have a lot of little sky holes over here. And I'm not really pressing very hard. I'm just lightly, you can still see a lot of the paper, the gray, blue gray of the paper between the pastel strokes, because I like to kind of go lightly until I see where things are going, and just kind of get a feel for where everything is and where things are, so I can always go back over it later again and again. So if I were to put clouds in, pretty much just like in the photo, I would kind of put one there, and one across here. These aren't done. I'm just trying to see if this is something I really want to do with trying to put clouds in. But we'll leave it like that for now. I'll just kind of let that simmer for a little bit. All right. We'll have more sky holes later down here. Okay. Okay, so I've got a little bit of where I want the house to be, where I don't want it to be. And I want these trees behind it to be fairly dark, back in the distance and sort of in the shadows. Okay, something like that. This tree is going to be in the foreground, so I don't want to put too much dark over that. Go a little bit lighter just to put a little definition. Okay, I've thrown in a few more little areas of where some shrubs are going to be, and I'm just kind of giving those a little bit more definition and a little more shadow areas. And a little shadow under this tree here, and under this one as well. Okay, let me get some more of the trees in. There's a lot of shadow in these trees here. So we're going to go ahead and start putting some of that in. And then we've got the trunks here. I'll go ahead and put those in as well. And here I'm just taking a piece of pipe insulation that I've cut in half and in half again. Pick it up off the floor. And it makes a really nice little smoother to kind of push that pastel into the paper a little bit more and just kind of get it kind of smudged out a little. Because I'm going to be layering some lighter colors over top of this. And I don't want those lighter colors to pick up too much of this dark, otherwise everything just kind of turns to mud. So I'll take a little bit of that off. There we go. And then we'll go over this with a little bit lighter green. And we'll just start putting in some color. A lot of this is going to still be sort of in the shadows. What I like is that this colored paper, you can see some areas of that kind of in between in the trees, and I think it's great. I love it, the way it just it looks like it's actually part of the trees and some of those shadowed areas. So I love this color of paper. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit lighter. There's lots of clumps up here at the top of leaves. Let's see if I can put some of that in here. And again, you can see through the pastel. I'm not really not yet pressing too terribly hard with it. There's a lot of bright areas on this side. And I'm just kind of getting some more of this defined. And I'll go back over and go through defining a little bit better. Right now I'm still just sort of blocking things in just to see if it's worth continuing, if it's going in the right direction, if I've got areas of contrast, if I like the composition, if the house isn't still a little bit too large, before I really go in and press harder and really make things more solidified. Looking back over the tree line and the clouds, I think I'm gonna just kind of bring the tree line down and then up. And bring it down a little farther in here. Clouds going off upward. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna throw this trunk in here. Okay, here I'm trying to be just a little more free with the pastel strokes. I really want the trees to look really dimensional and thick, not flat, but that they've got some bulk to them. So we'll just see what happens. Okay, I think it's time to get a little bit lighter here so I can tell where my brighter areas are going to be, where the sun is hitting. So getting a little bit lighter. And usually I work from dark to light. Most pastelists do. So we'll see what happens. And sometimes I work back and forth, going from dark to light, back to dark, putting in a few more shadowed areas, some more areas where the branches are going to poke through the leaves. Whoa, I like that. Here's the part of the painting where we start getting more detailed in the highlights. So I'm liking this color.
So you see my hand sort of going quickly over the painting with this highlight color. It seems sort of a random thing, but I'm remembering the day and what it looked like. It was very bright, and just sort of, I'm looking at the photo, but then I'm remembering the warmth of the day and how bright that sun was, and just sort of throwing on these highlights here and there.
Okay, I've kind of put this little background tree in, and then I'm trying to put another little tree behind it, putting in some dark shadowed areas there. And then I'm looking for a medium, more of a medium green to go somewhere in between those two, between this bright and this dark, so that they don't necessarily clash or there we go. Because these are in the background. They're not necessarily up close where you have lots of bright highlights. I'll do the same on this one, even though this tree is a little closer. I'll put a few more darks in that one. Okay, I think I potentially found a shade of green here that will sort of separate these trees a little bit. Give them a little sparkle, a little highlight. They are back in the distance, however. These two greens are the same. This is the ground, and this is tree, so I'll have to do a little something there to separate that a little bit. It is brighter here though, so I'm going to bump up the brightness here on this edge of it. And I'm just lightly touching the paper at this point. I'm going to come over the house here with that a little bit. There we go. And then go in and put a little bit of highlight. And then down towards this side, it's a little bit more in the shadows. And that's going to help separate that from the ground as well. Come across here a little bit. Okay, so I'm trying to separate this in the foreground from this that's farther back. This is bright, a lot of bright sun shining on that, but we're kind of melding together a little bit there. So what I think I'm going to do is try and go for some darker pieces here, just to try and, because this is, in the picture at least, it is in the shade. So a lot of this right here is dark because the sun is up coming from the other side. So a lot of this is darker, and then this is brighter in the background. So I'm just gonna kind of glaze some of this over that. See if I can, I'm gonna separate that a little bit more. Okay, that's a little bit better. And then we'll kind of come over here with some, I guess instead of sky holes, they're gonna be tree holes. You kind of see some of that tree back there through that. There we go. All right. Okay. So I've got a Terry Ludwig violet. It's like a medium violet. And I'm just going to go through very lightly through some of these shadowed areas and put just a hint of this violet, blue violet. And then I'll go back over with a little bit of dark green, just to give it a little, because there's really a lot of purple in shadows. And that really kind of helps punch things up a little bit. So I need to go back through with some green for this ground that's in between the tree trunks. There we go. Okay, I'll clean that up again in just a little bit. Okay, I think I just want to darken the shadows here between this little section right here. Just a little bit. There we go. Maybe these over here as well. There we go. I like that better. I like how this kind of helps it look like the sun is really kind of coming down from the left a little bit and from up above, from the top. So now I'll just kind of put these shrubs in here.
Historically, I don't really paint structures, and in this series, I want to put them in, but I would still like to get a little bit more free with them and not be quite as what I'm doing here. I just don't normally do, trying to get things nice and straight and even, and I'd rather just sort of swoop these shapes in and have them be just a little bit more abstract. So we'll see. I'll have to work on that. This color is just a bit too orange, but I'll fix it in a little bit. Okay, time to get a little bit more of the red roof in on the house.
Okay, got a little more, some of the bushes and shrubs a little more defined, and the steps, side of the house, the gray, the shaded area, shaded side. I'm gonna try to do something here with the, kind of brace my wrist on here so I can try to see if I can just brighten up these little steps underneath here where the sun is shining on the tops of them. I think I'll make that grass. So that's a little bit better, except it's kind of crooked there on the edge, but I'll fix that up in a little bit, a little later. What I want to do now is kind of get this going over the edge here a little bit. There we go. Kind of green this up. There we go, that's better. Put a few highlights on the sunny side of the house. Okay, let's go ahead and put in a few, kind of solidify the sky a little bit more. Put in a few little sky holes. I really still like some of the dark, the color of the paper itself. I think I'm going to let some of that just show through. Some of these values are a little similar. This green and this blue are pretty similar in value, so I may go back and either lighten up some of that sky, or I may darken or lighten that green there. I don't, just not quite happy with that. I'll step back in a minute here and take a better look at it and see. Yeah, I'll probably add a little bit more green here. Maybe either lighten or darken that green value. Just a little bit, so it's not quite so. The similar values, they just kind of blend together, and the tree doesn't really stand out against that color of the sky, that shade of blue. Okay, there's variations here in the blues a little bit. This should have been lighter here. There we go. Okay. And the cloud color. Let's see what we can get going here. Okay, now I'll go back and try to define a little bit of the trees in the background here a little bit. Against that sky. Wrong shade there. Maybe try this one. Yeah, this is it. There we go. All right, that's a little bit better. Figure out that green. Okay, this is a little bit better against that blue. Okay, back to the grass here that's underneath the trees.
Oh, okay. Love it.
Okay. Whoops, I think I bumped the camera a little bit. Sorry about that. Go back in with some of this green here. This one is very close to being finished. I'll turn off the camera and back up and take another look, and I'll be back. All right, I think this one's finished. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. It sure was a lot of fun. So thank you so much for watching.